Just one more moment. Okay. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to everyone. I'm very pleased to be with you this evening with our very special guest, artist Alina Akbar, calling in from Islamabad, Pakistan. Welcome, Alina. My name is Daniel Yassin Nelson, and we're very pleased to have you on the GAMA channel.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Taeesha. Thank you to GAMA Collective team. It's been an honor. It's been a privilege for me to be a part of this collaboration. And I hope I spread positivity. I hope I spread a different light on things, on art especially. So I'm really excited.
Inshallah, I look forward to that. I believe so, Alina. So thank you again for joining us. And again, I am sitting in for our curator, Sister Taeesha Mohammed. She's running a couple minutes behind this evening. So inshallah, hopefully I do an okay job on her behalf, because she's been doing a great job so far. I hope so. She's been doing a great job putting this series together. So hats off to her. This is her brainchild, in addition to a really great team that we're working with, Sister Aram and Medina with GAMA New York. So without further ado, we'll begin. I'll just do a very brief introduction for anybody who is new to GAMA. We are a nonprofit art organization that was founded in San Francisco in the Bay Area by Brother Abbas Muhammad in 2016. It has since spread across North America. We have chapters in New York and Detroit. Who knows, possibly Pakistan soon. But again, we do have the intention of growing as a international or global organization of a network of artists who are willing to collaborate and work together. And you know, our mission is to build a platform of support for Muslim creatives, and to facilitate the growth of authentic creative communities that's based on inclusivity and trust, and to then build these communities throughout the world by building networks of artistic collaboration. So that's our intention, and again, it is a great privilege and honor, and again, speaking to the COVID moment that we're in, that we're all kind of unable to go out and do things, but we're at the same time we're able to have this opportunity to meet, whereas otherwise we never would have had this opportunity. So alhamdulillah. And so again, I'm very pleased and honored to welcome our artist for the evening, Alina Akbar. So welcome.
Pleased to be here.
Of course. Thank
you.
Thank you so much for joining us. So inshallah, we have some slides we can get into in a moment. Just before we begin, Alina, is there anything you would like to say about yourself as an artist, to introduce yourself to our audience?
Well, yes. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. So this is Alina Akbar from Pakistan, and I'm previously trained as a miniature artist. And then I went to Italy to pursue my master's in fine arts, specifically in studio arts, where a great transition happened in my work, and where I sort of realized the core of myself, where I realized the core components of my work. So I think the most important components that define me as an artist, or that represent my personality, are spontaneity, observation, and spirituality. And I think I would like to talk about my journey as an artist. So it has been very thought-provoking and intense. Having to deal with a lot of emotional and mental trauma, as well as different stages of life where you discover things about yourself, where you discover things about the people around you. So it's been a very, very intense journey. And the idea about pursuing art as a career occurred to me when I started feeling the void. I would
Mm,
want to put it as the void within me, because the subjects that I was studying, the environment that I was in wasn't really helping. So when I started feeling the lack of meaningfulness, that contact, that depth or connection, that's when I wanted to steer away from that mundaneness. Because one thing, Daniel, it's very important for us to realize that you should hold on to things that make you feel powerful. And when I created something, when I created anything visual, even if that was a small still life or a portrait of a friend or someone I know, at the end of it, that would make me feel confident. So that's when I anchored my intention on embarking this journey. Because again, we should empower ourselves. We should feel confident about ourselves in whatever we do, without having to fear the public, without having to feel what the family is going to talk about, what friends are going to talk about, especially if you're coming from a very conservative society where
mm,
being an artist, being a woman and an artist, these are not highly appreciated, I would say, in the beginning. It's the appreciation is very superficial. So there are very rare people who understand the depth of it and the worth of it. Because certain times you're told that being an artist should be a hobby, it should be a side project, it shouldn't be the main focus of your life. So, but Alhamdulillah, I had opportunities in my life that made me sort of not prove or just to show people what it's like, what it takes to be an artist. And so, with the ceaseless support of my mother, with the company and support of my sisters and my family, I was able to fight against the pessimism of the society. And that's when I felt extremely strong. Uh, so, then I started traveling, I started doing residencies, I started taking up every little opportunity that came my way. I mean, I wasn't picky about things. I wanted to explore. I wanted to discover as much as I could. And then in that process, I enjoyed listening. I enjoyed listening to things that I wasn't listening to before. So that was a very important part of my process, of my journey, which is still going on. So,
yeah,
and I think that's really, really integral for artists to be able to listen. And so this is what my journey was all about. And I think it's been a healing process. And
absolutely.
I hope it never ends.
Yeah, absolutely. I was about to comment that it's always an ongoing journey, and you never know. I mean, because it's a journey, you don't know where you're going to end up, and that's part of the I guess the adventure of it, but also the risk of it. And there's a little bit of fear involved, if not a lot. And then but that's really beautifully spoken. So thank you for sharing. I
Thank
I,
you.
I kind of want to see how some of the concepts you mentioned are in the work itself. So maybe we can turn to the slides and we can get. I really liked what you spoke about spontaneity and spirituality, and then the intensity of it all, and then facing the void. That was,
Observation.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. And then facing the
Mm-hmm.
void, that was really powerful. So I'm just going to go ahead and share the slides on my.
Okay.
Actually, I think Taisha is about to come on. Um,
Okay. Maybe we should wait for her a
yeah,
couple
let's
of more
wait. Let's
seconds.
wait. Yeah, before
Mhm.
we dive into the slides. But yeah, so 1 second. So I guess yeah, maybe we can talk more than before we look at the work, but like about your art process, and maybe how does that relate to some of the themes you brought up?
Oh, I love my art process. It's very spontaneous. It's very instantaneous. I would say it is cathartic. being an artist. This is a very cliche thing that you get to hear from most of the artists around you. Oh, it's meditative, but it really is a form of catharsis for me. When you don't have to think about anything and you just have to like explode the ideas from your mind without having to rehearse about them. My process is very impulsive. It's very transparent. It's very, very honest. So it's a combination of spending weeks doing research and not creating anything visual at all. And then there are odd hours where I just draw continuously, one after the other. And I don't know where that energy comes from. But I think it's, we as artists, we as humans, we are constantly absorbing information. We're constantly observing and absorbing at the same time. And then I strongly believe there's a specific time for everything, for every concept to surface. So it's really, really important to have a dialogue with yourself in that process. And I enjoy having conversations with my material around me, with the space, with my studio. And the times when I'm talking to myself, and if someone just listens to, what is this person doing? I remember when I was doing my master's, I would put up my headphones and I would pretend that I'm talking to someone so that I don't appear creepy. So that's a really, really exciting process for me. And my entire body of work, my journey through my creative and artistic journey so far, it's been always about the process. I don't care about the final product, because I think it's the process that captures the essence of what the artist has to say. And the end, I don't think it's the end product is really the end product. It keeps evolving. So I could talk about the series. I could talk about the process of the collages for this collaborative. Do you have to wait
Yeah,
for Taeesha?
I think Taeesha is almost on, but maybe one question
Yes.
while I'm still covering that I had. You mentioned when we spoke the other night that you have been trained with a classical form, namely the Mughal miniatures. So I'm kind of,
Miniature, yes.
yeah, miniature style painting. So how do you relate? Because I assume that's a very uh, kind of classical form of painting with a form of spontaneity in your work.
So there's a clash in the two forms. So I'll tell you about it. When I was in my undergrad, I always wanted to take sculpture. Because I was a very hyperactive person, I would not sit at one place, and I was very impatient, to say the least. And I wanted that stillness in life. And the miniature studio in my university, I graduated from National College of Arts, Rawalpindi. And thanks to my teachers and thanks to my miniature fellows there, the environment of the studio used to be very, very meditative. I mean, we would be asked to prepare ourselves or to create an environment that was followed traditionally also. Like you have to sit cross-legged on the floor, you have to put your paper at a certain angle, you don't have to bend your back, certain protocols that you have to take about the light, about the posture. And that's when it hit me. I took a small course, I took an elective. And that period, that time when I took miniature for the first time in my life, was an opening for me, because I really wanted that stillness. I really wanted to feel the gravity. And it excited me because you get to make your paint brushes yourselves, you get to make your pigments yourself, you make the paper, which we call waslis, you get to make them yourself. So everything is handmade, everything is an act of labor, it's an act of love. So you are involved in the process. And when you look at the archives, the historical archives of the miniature of different eras, be it Indian, Rajasthani, Mughal, colonial, it really excites you that those visuals, they stemmed from the place where you belong from. It's an asset of subcontinent. It stemmed out from this region. So I enjoyed every bit of it. And as I learned how to be more patient by doing those intricate, detailed paintings, there came a point where I wanted to be very, very spontaneous with that medium. So I trained myself in that skill. I explored different dynamics of it. And then I wanted to personalize it, when the concept comes in. So that's the point where I stitched spontaneity with very intricate skill. And throughout these years, it has evolved into different forms. My work, it took an illustrative turn, and then mainly to line drawing, to contour drawing. And now I'm enjoying the digital medium. So let's see where this journey takes me, what's ahead of me. But miniature, at the end of the day, the aesthetic of it is something that sits at my consciousness. It's a part of my process. I think about the visuals. I think about the different perspectives. I think about the color palette, about the different aspect of showing different scenes, the quote scenes or the personal themes. So I do take references from all of those things.
That's really interesting. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, and I'm sure that's something that if you do have the training and also just the just the it's a part of your cultural just recognition and selfhood, it will always sort of be present in whatever way it kind of manifests, even if it's spontaneous, even if it's subliminal. So that's a really interesting dynamic to have. So thank you. So
Thank you.
of course, yeah. So it does look like Taeesha is with us. Taeesha in the house. Wa alaikum assalam.
I'm so sorry. Meeting ran over. Alhamdulillah. How's everybody?
Doing good. So
How
good
are
to
you
see
doing,
you.
my dear? Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. I'm charged.
Excellent. Excellent. It's right where you need to be at. So we did the introductions already, yes? Have you walked us through your work?
Not yet. I was talking about myself as an artist, about my journey, about the process.
Excellent, excellent. So you've already introduced yourself to everyone, yes?
I tried to.
We have a lot of people on the line. Alhamdulillah, assalamu alaikum, everybody. How this works, and I'm not sure if Brother Daniel told you, if you have a question that you'd like me to ask Alina while the chat is going on, you just put it in the chat box and we will go ahead and I'll go ahead and ask her the question as we go. Our first, let's go look at the slideshow so that we can go ahead and you can go ahead and walk us through each of your pieces, my dear, okay? I'm gonna share screen, just give me a second here. Share screen. And then, so what was your thought process while you were going ahead and making these pieces? Alina?
That one word that struck to me, that stayed in my head, was liberation. And I wanted to talk about my sentiments about liberation, about freedom. And knowing that the entire world has been affected by this pandemic, I wanted to take this opportunity to reflect upon my journey throughout the last 5 to 6 months when things changed, that changed the thought process, that changed the way we look at the ordinary things or the extraordinary things. For instance, the very first piece, the quarantine carpet, it was a reaction to the uncomfortable, the unusual and unimaginable lifestyle that we had to live, where freedom sort of felt like a very far-fetched idea. You had to think, you had to think before going out somewhere. You had to prepare before doing something. Everything had to be very, very thought out. Right. And initially, when the first lockdown was announced, because there were so many things happening in my life, I felt that this is a blessing in disguise. I'd get to spend more time at the studio. I would reconnect. I would have conversations with my artworks that were unattended since a long time. And it tutored me to stay still, to be mindful about the pause. You know, certain times in life when there's a lot of chaos, you need that specific order by just being still. And I enjoyed that. I enjoyed reading. I enjoyed everything. And I was loving the essence of everything around me, be it cooking, be it exploring different mediums, be it drawing something or painting with colors that I hadn't done in a long time, and to realize the essential reason behind my creative process.
Right.
Uh, but eventually, it started nurturing a negative entity within me because I started feeling the impatience in myself because I'm driven by social interaction. I'm driven by traveling. I'm driven not by being confined at one place for a longer period of time. So living in an environment where there's constant vigilance, there's constant check and control, whether you're wearing a mask or not, you know, because wearing a mask has now become a social etiquette. You know, you have to be mindful about it. You have to carry it all the time. Have you sanitized your hands? Sanitize it again. Do it one more time, and just being forced to do things that you know that you have to follow. That pushed me to a negative point, and I felt uh, that it did take a toll on myself as a person, as an artist, and on my in my art also. So I wanted to weave those sentiments, those thought processes throughout this period in which I'm showing myself. That's a photograph of myself being juxtaposed with another illustration that I've picked up from the miniature school, which shows more like a beast that represents or symbolizes my inner emotions, where I'm sitting behind the doors, like in a closed space, in a frame, and I'm looking outside where all eyes are on you. Everything seems perfect, but still everything is very chaotic.
Right.
And then I wanted to just make it appear seemingly beautiful, you know, that everything, oh, the Mother Nature is healing. You see greenery around you, you see everything brightening up, colors being extremely saturated around you. But when you're inside that room, when you're inside your space for a longer period of time, you don't see those colors anymore. You don't see that beauty anymore. There has to be a certain kind of transition to keep you motivated. So this quarantine carpet was a piece where I wanted to stitch together my thoughts and weave them together and show what the journey has been like.
Okay. I was wondering about that as I was looking at this collection, and I wanted to zoom in on one of the, what was going on with what was over your face. And another person asked, Sana asked, I sense the monster, she sees a monster in the mask, and we were questioning, like, what is that about?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, oftentimes, you know, when me being a very transparent person, like I cannot hide my expressions. I cannot pretend. That's a big no for me. And then there are times when you have to keep up that smile. You have to keep up that. You have to wear different masks all the time. You know, even if you're going through something, there are certain moments where you have to keep that mask on. So,
Right.
Sana, she just pointed out that it seems like it's a mask on the face. It is, you know, it is a mask, or it's a representation of what is going behind that mask. And in miniature, the aesthetic is that you overlap, you layer different, you put different layers. So I use that concept of repeating, the idea of repetition, the idea of overlapping. So I overlap this certain figure over my face
Right.
to show the impact or an overlap or an influence of a certain emotion that was growing inside my head day by day. So that's what it is about.
Okay. And did you find it challenging to pick the imagery that you want to put over your face?
Like I said before, I enjoy the process. I keep my visual vocabulary active. I keep saving photographs or anything that I find interesting, or to the books. And when I go through them with that specific framework or the concept in my head, and when I see that if that image or visual is talking to me or is best representing what I want to talk about visually, I pick that up. And when I picked this specific illustration from the miniature, I felt like, this is the best depiction of what is going on inside my head. So I feel confident with my selections because that's where my dialogue gets strong.
Okay.
So yeah.
I'm just gonna go back to it now so we can all see. Where we were. So this next piece is called The Lockdown. You want to go through what's happening?
So the first space, the quarantine carpet, it led me to the next one, which was again delving into the same thought process, and it pretty much follows the same sentiment where, you look at your life, you would want to see your life in a specific perspective where there's a beautiful background, where there's order, where there's beauty, and there are pleasant components around you. But then again, I picked up certain symbols that symbolize hatred. For instance, if you zoom in, you see that there's this blue flower that I used to make a pattern out of it.
Yes,
those are
right
aconites.
here.
Those are aconites, and they represent hatred. And then again, there's this another flower, the outer border. It's a special kind of a lotus. It's a special kind of a sterilidia, which also represents a confinement. It represents disconnect. So, altogether, if you look at it, the entire composition, it may seem a little pleasing to you, but at the same time, it does have it does refer to the connotations that are not so pleasing. And I was going through the internet, and you get to see these Greek statues, and you get to see these historical artworks being masked. So I picked that up. I picked that visual up, and I wanted to incorporate that, stitch it together in this frame, because I think the insanity has reached to a point where not only humans are obliged to wear masks, but they're putting it up on, inanimate objects also. So then again, if you see in this piece, I've followed the similar framework where it looks like a miniature painting, where the background is picked up from one of the paintings I've done earlier. It's from Basoli period. And I wanted to just enjoy that color palette with what is going on throughout that piece. So just to have that visual harmony, just to see what goes with what. And I think I really enjoyed it.
That's good. Sana loves your integration of the miniature paintings with the digital at the same time. And Medina wanted to know, what does the brick texture represent in the previous slide?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. So
brick texture.
Yes. Here.
This one.
Yeah.
Okay. So this was basically a photograph of a ruin. It was a historical site. I don't remember where the site is from. But when you're sitting at when you're sitting at home, I felt like this place is going to turn into a ruin one day, because that's what I felt like. My emotions and everything, they were so overwhelming, and they were exaggerating bit by bit, that I felt like I'm getting older way faster than I should be, and feeling that abandonment. There's certain sites which are abandoned and which are left as it is, and you see how they've aged, how the stories have been, you see different stories in those ruins, in those locations. So I certainly picked up this ruin, this doorway, this arched way, and I played with it. I turned it upside down, and I wanted to just show that that's what my consciousness looks like. Like it looks like an abandoned place. So where I'm sitting behind it, where I'm a part of it, and there's at the background there's an explosion happening, where there's another image of a nuclear explosion being photographed from the space. So there's different things that I picked together, and I joined them together just to show what this entire isolation period was all about.
which is definitely brings me to my next question. How has your art been affected by COVID? Like all the conversations that we're having now as artists, we're talking about how we're affected by COVID. Has it caused your work to change in any specific direction, or did it give you more peace, more drama? Like what happened for you?
I would say it's been a bittersweet journey for me. I mean, in the beginning, I enjoyed it. I was writing more. I was exploring more, and I didn't have any deadlines. I did not have to show something to someone instantly. I
Right.
was focusing on myself. So I returned back to the process where I'm doing something for myself. I'm enjoying it. I'm doing it every day. I'm enjoying the studio space. I'm listening to my favorite music. I don't have to, you know, care about the things that you usually do when you're in a fast-paced environment. So initially I enjoyed it, but later on it felt like, I'm stuck somewhere and I have to explore more. I have to show a different transformation or transition in my work. And then, there was a time when I was painting on huge canvases. I got large canvases made for myself, and I started painting flowers, which I've never painted before. I mean, I'm not the kind of person who does flora and fauna and colorful things. But then I started drawing flowers. I started enjoying making them. And, you know, my husband would come to my studio and he would ask, why are you making this? How do you feel about it? It's like, I don't know. I'm just doing this just to have a different visual experience altogether. And this is
Right.
for me. These pieces are for myself. And I don't know what am I going to do with them later on.
Right.
But just to let go of that fear. I mean, fear of, trying something that may not work out. It has to look a certain way. But then, okay, let's just forget about it. It's all about the process. Just to, feel strong about it, or just to feel the power of it.
Yes.
And then later on, I started feeling that, because the social interactions had been stopped, you could not invite people to your studio, or you could not meet people openly. I felt that void again. I started feeling that emptiness again. So what I do is, I broadcast a message on my WhatsApp to all the people I want to stay in touch with. I just say, hey, what's up? All of them. I said, just to stay connected, just to stay where they are in their lives.
Right.
And so another thing that, yes, COVID has impacted my life, my routine, in a way that there were several projects, there were certain collaborations, there were certain exhibition ideas that I wanted to launch, but I couldn't. So I'm still working on them. I got more time to work on them, and I hope things get better. So I bring them to the surface soon. So yes, I can't complain. It's been a very informative and a very learning experience for me throughout.
That's a good thing. I think that, and I mean, and then, I know you, so I know that working large is not something that you do often. Now, flowers, like just hearing that is like, what? So let's go back to your piece, your pastel postcard, piece 3.
Yes.
What's
So,
the process
when you
behind this one?
okay, so when I felt like, okay, I have sort of captured the sentiment about the quarantine. I wanted to talk about how I would sit and I would daydream about traveling.
Oh.
Sunbathing, going to the beach, enjoying those pastel colors, enjoying that sepia tone in life, going back to that retro zone. And I wanted to bring that out, and I wanted to create a postcard for myself that would actually make me happy, that wouldn't really make me feel negative about something. So this piece sort of captures that sentiment where I'm like, all right, it's not the end of the world. Things are going to get better soon, inshallah. And I will be traveling again, and I will be enjoying those colors again, and I will be enjoying the healed Mother Nature. You know how they say the Mother Nature is healing?
Yes.
Because people are at home. So this was a reminder for that. So as artists, you do create things that make you happy, that make you feel happy about yourself. And in the beginning, I mentioned that, when I create something, it makes me feel powerful. Sometimes uh, it excites me. Sometimes it makes me want to just be still. It's just that energy that makes me want to be myself.
Right.
and share that with people around me, or whoever is inquisitive about my process. So empowering yourself by what you're doing is, I think, highly essential. And I wish I had told this to myself, a long time ago. But I don't regret it. I think it's a part of our journeys.
True
So
story.
yeah.
True story. So what are the baby mirror and baby angels? What do they symbolize?
Ah, these baby angels. So I picked up this symbolic figure from Renaissance art, from medieval paintings. And when I remember when I used to go to the museums, then again, a part of traveling, a very important part of traveling, I love going to the museums. I would draw these baby cupids. I don't know why. I was never interested in drawing anything else of the landscape. I enjoyed making those baby figures. And that's when I thought, it brought me joy. I enjoyed them because the naughtiness in their beings, or there's a certain kind of mischief in their aura. So I wanted that. I wanted to bring that in this postcard, because I think you should never eliminate the fun element from your life, and that's what I wanted to see in my postcard.
Okay. What's going on with this image that's over your face, and why are you upside down?
Again, a compositional decision, a conscious compositional decision. I just wanted to turn it upside down, because why not? The image that is masked on top of my face is of this emperor. I'm forgetting the name of this emperor. So he's praying for goodness. He has his hands held up, so he's praying for goodness. And I think it couldn't get any better than that. So I juxtaposed it on top of my own visual, and I feel that it brought it all together. In these drawings, which were superimposed on my own portraits, they're not so visible, but then again, it invites you to zoom in and to see what's going on in there. And that's one of the things that I enjoy about my work, or miniature also, that when you look at a painting or when you look at a drawing, it draws you closer to it. It wouldn't just let you pass by. You would want to stay there. You would want to devote a part of your time and see what's going on. So these are the little tricks that we do just to
I
keep the
like
viewer.
I understand that. And that's really what happened. Like when the team and I were looking at your pieces, they were like, what's happening? And they're very powerful. What is she trying to say? Like the exploration that you're making. Medina made a comment. I love your exploration of the fear of the unknown and in a spontaneous way. It shows very much in these pieces. Like when we were looking at them, we were floored. There's so much texture and layering. Like this one, the Friday prayer. What made you decide to use text?
Okay, so I would now come to this one. So it's been like an order in these
Yeah.
spaces also. First, I was talking about the quarantine. I wanted to identify with the emotion that went during the quarantine period. Then I want to remind myself of the good times. And then I remember it was a Friday. It was a Friday evening. And over here, I don't know if it happened around the globe or not, but there used to be a prayer at 10 p.m. There would be an azan in all the mosques nearby or within my vicinity. And when I asked about it, they told me that these azans are to ask for forgiveness, it's to ask for mercy from Allah when the pandemic was taking over, and when the death toll was increasing day by day, minute by minute. So listening to azan at that point of the night was very, very spiritual. That prayer, it did hit me, that at the end of the day, I'm extremely, extremely blessed and lucky to be a Muslim, and I enjoy the spirituality in my religion, in my being, and things that I explore every day about it. So I was in my balcony, and I was listening to it. I was listening to it carefully, and I could feel it amplifying second by second. So that's when it was sort of like a wake-up call, that do not let go of your faith, do not let go of the prayer that you're making. You have to have a certain kind of gravity. You need to have faith in your creator, whoever you believe in. And the text that I used, I found it was a vintage postcard with women lying on the beach, and I just wanted to cut that out. I wanted just the frame for myself. You know how as artists you just pick and choose what looks good visually, and even the quotation that you see at the bottom. It is not what we have now, but the question is how long shall we keep it and how much shall we keep of it? It covers so many things about, you know, how much shall we keep of uh, what is going on around us? What should be our thought process? How should we feel right now? Should we be optimistic about things or just be plainly negative about everything going around us? Should we believe in the media? Should we not believe in it? So what is that one thing that made me happy? It was that reconnection, that spiritual reconnection, and just enjoying being on the prayer mat.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're letting your heart out in that very very vulnerable moment where you're praying for everything, for your family, for your friends, for the entire world, for yourself, you know, that's when you feel like you're not on the prayer mat anymore, you're on a flying carpet. So you're just traveling,
True.
you're just swaying, you're feeling weightless, and you feel that weight, that burden actually uh, lessening. So this piece sort of represents what my faith was like at that point, and what did that Friday prayer did with me when I listened to it carefully. Because in the middle of it, in the middle of this chaos of staying at home, I wouldn't be. I would want to talk about it. I mean, there was a point where I just didn't want to uh, pray anymore. I mean, there was a weird state where I would just ignore it. I would avoid it, avoid doing it. But then again, Allah actually gives you those, He knocks at you and knocks sense into you, and it gives you signs from all around, visual, in form of sound, you know, or so that was one experience for me that stayed with me, and I wanted to capture that in this one also.
I like that. What made you choose postcards for all of these? I found that to be really interesting too. When we talked about the show and liberation and such, what made you decide postcards was the connection?
I feel postcards are a way of summarizing uh, a broad spectrum of emotions in a small piece of paper. You know, you want to capture the maximum influence of your thought in a tiny piece of paper. And I remember when we used to send postcards to our friends and family when we were kids. And I don't know why this tradition has been lost now because in this digital age. I used to love getting the postcards. And even when I travel, I would buy them as souvenirs for myself. And they were the best representations or the keepsakes or objects of memory. I mean, so I wanted to have this entire series made as a series of postcards or something that looks like something you could put it on the wall or have the decorative element in it, because um, I want to feel happy about it. I want to feel, and I want to enjoy the process. I want to see the transition or the journeys that I'm taking throughout this postcard, throughout the carpet, and throughout the uh, colors, throughout the palette, and all the elements together. So that's why I chose them.
Oh, wow. I'm getting so many excellent comments. Alhamdulillah. I think that, I want people to talk directly to you, Alina. I think we should open the floor up, Daniel, to let everyone speak to her directly so she can go ahead and answer the questions and feel that love.
Mm-hmm. That'd be great.
By all means. Bismillah.
So please, Sana, you are making such beautiful comments. Please go ahead and speak directly to Alina.
No, I just wanted to say I love your articulation of art in general. It's
Thank
very
you.
in your understanding, and it has a sophistication to it that I really enjoy listening to you. And your talk of subconscious is interesting. I think that plays a big part in how we express, I think, as artists, letting out that subconscious in healthy ways. I think a lot of times not in healthy ways, but we try. But it definitely brings a sort of clearing, doesn't it? Like in terms of our own inner layers and kind of in general for the collective. We play a big part in clearing the subconscious
Yes.
for the collective in general, don't you think?
Yes, because like I said, we're constantly absorbing. We're holding different things. We're holding ideas, emotions, and everything. And I think we should sit down. We should go through them one by one, and we should filter out the ones which are negatively affecting you, and we should hold on to those that make you feel good about yourself, make you feel good about your art or what you're capable of doing, be it helping someone or just maybe listening to a friend or talking your heart out. So these are all the things which aren't only just essential for artists. I think it's really essential for humans altogether, that you have to have uh, recognition, and you need to be in tune with what's going on in your subconscious, instead of just uh, covering it and just running away from it or being an escapist. So yeah.
Right. Well, it reminds me of that Carl Jung quote. I don't know if you're familiar with his work, but it's the one that that talks about that we live our life through kind of through our shadow, through the subconscious until we clear it. I don't know
Yes,
exactly what the quote is, but it's like it's very important to clear those inner
it
sort
is.
of
It is.
blocks to really get where we're really wanting to go, right?
Yes, absolutely. I
So
mean, you would want to move forward without having a burden, right? You would want to move forward with freshness, with openness, with
yeah,
open-mindedness. You wouldn't want to be a conservative, narrow-minded person carrying all those preconceived notions with you. I mean, you have to unlearn a few things. You have to be open to things. You have to listen. And that's one thing that I really want whoever is listening, whoever is watching, to just try to listen around you. Just be quiet for some time and just absorb and listen what's going on, because there are times when you're constantly talking, when constantly documenting and recording yourself or absorbing around you, that you fail to listen to the beautiful silence around you. So I think that's a very, very important thing in order to uncover and clarify different phases of yourself, of clearing what is bothering you or what is going to aid you in future. So,
right. Yeah, I love that.
and I hope I answered that comment.
A very,
However it comes, it's
very,
always
I was going to
perfect.
say, and you know that, Alina, you are very academic when it comes to how you put your art together, and you pull from a lot of your different experiences. And being in the pandemic, you were able to sit still and look at all those different elements. I mean, and so many conversations that we've had, you and I, and me with other artists, I always say that this is not something that is meant to destroy us, but it's meant to make us go internal and kind of figure out what's happening with us personally, and how we are then able to project it in a positive way outward, because it's not happening to us, it's happening for us. You know, this is a message that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us forth. And in that,
Yes.
when you're making these postcards, and even when you're making your current art, and you're allowing yourself to just grow as an artist, and as you said, find yourself in the silence, where do you think your art is going to go from here?
Whoa. I think this pandemic, or this phase in our lives this year, has actually made me even more observant. And I've observed the details in my work even clearly now, the conceptual framework of my work. What is that primary focus when I'm doing something, when I'm creating something? What are those things that I'm interested in? So I am looking forward and exploring even more, observing even more. And I, as I say this, I I'm going to blow up the scale of my work. I'm going to incorporate digital media, like digital art, digital genre into my work. That certainly doesn't mean abandoning what I know, what I've been doing earlier, but I want to bring explosive colors in my work, which weren't there before. I mean, this was a question that I used to get before when I did black and white series, which are still close to my heart, and they represent the essence of who I am. But now I think I would want to put in some really uh, uh, like highly saturated colors in my work. I would want to explore that. I've never done that before. I would want to paint, or I would want to put a big neon patch in my work along with the black and whites. And I want to do that because I want to express who I've become now. I'm
Exactly.
embracing the colors. I'm embracing everything that's been thrown at me and make it my own. It's the journey of internalization. I think it's a journey of confronting yourself also. And the way, and there are moments where I'm like, maybe yellow is not my color, but then like, I'm going to wear that yellow t-shirt today. I'm going to enjoy it. And I'm going to put yellow in everything that I have around me. So I'm enjoying that part of myself now, which I somehow sort of didn't experience before because
That's
I
good.
was focused on other things.
That's
So
good.
I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. And I think if my mother has signed up for this talk, she would be really happy because she was a constant commenter on my black and white work. Why do you not use colors, Alina? Why don't you use that pink a little bit, you know? So I think I hope to make her happy to show that, you know, it's a part of it's a part of the evolution. So yeah.
Okay.
You know what I
So,
think it, sorry to
no, go
interrupt.
ahead, please.
You know what I
Yeah.
think it is? It's like, you know, with the isolation, like how we're, you know, like how Taisha said, we're like forced to go within. So it's almost like you're
Mm,
black and white and you transition to color almost symbolizes like the expression of the soul to me because it's very rich. It's that
yes.
aspect of us that has, you know, that multi-dimensional quality to it. So when we express it in art, it's almost like an expression of your soul coming out through the process of being
Mm,
isolated. No, don't you think? It's kind of
absolutely.
like your shadow, and then your soul is kind of starting to
Yeah.
express itself more and more.
Yeah, you're feeling that illumination around you. You're feeling that halo around you, you know, that colors, the spectrum of colors. So I'm enjoying that. I'm loving it. This is something that I've never experienced before. And like I mentioned about, like in the very beginning of the talk, when Daniel asked me about who I am as an artist, and I mentioned about going through an emotional abuse, going through mental trauma, those were the times when I uh, canceled out the colors and saturation in my life. And at a very young age, I felt like, okay, you know, maybe this color does not suit me visually, even, you know, that if I would wear this color, it would not look, it would not make me look good. Always being conscious about yourself, your outlook, your inner self. And now, you know, as it gives you the liberation, as the art, as the journey liberates you, it gives you that certain freedom. It allows you to go back to those places and embrace them and to make them your own and to enjoy them and to have fun with them. So that's what it is like for me. My spiritual realm, where I am in the last one, the Friday prayer, where the uh, visual actually shows that, you know, there's a connection. There's a man praying on a praying mat, which is placed on top of the world, and there's a galaxy at the background. The spirituality of it, I think that's my world. I have so many colors. I have so many hues and tonalities of every shade, of every color, and I'm enjoying it. And I still have to explore them. So yeah,
Allowing yourself to do that is such a good idea. You know, opening yourself up because, like I said, I know you, and yes, you and color,
yeah,
you strictly a one palette individual. That's even why I found these to be very unique for you, because they have so much color. They're also very spiritual. They're almost like cards. You know what I mean? Like I was like, these are like postcards, and the way that when we were looking at them and deciding their order and the way that they flowed and what details we wanted to accent. It was so many little things going on in them that it was just like, we have to pick something for her to speak about. Like, okay, so in this last one, the Friday prayer, there's a brother like on the side here, like praying.
Yes.
And then there's another one here on the flying carpet over the earth. Was that, what was that intention?
That was yet again, I would say I was being literal in the meaning of it. And so, you know, I was enjoying picking up elements from the miniature archives. And I was going through different paintings online, and I was going through different visuals. And I picked up these elements. I mean, there's also a woman there, top right corner, and she's
Yeah.
also praying. She's kneeling down and she's also praying. So I wanted to put them all together. And if you see closely on top of my own portrait, there's this person in a ruku position.
Yes.
So, you know, anything, everything that could represent my state of spirituality at that moment, I wanted to put them up together. I was being unapologetic about, you know, being too literal about it, because visually it made me happy and I wanted to put them. It's a conscious decision. And also, you know, compositionally, I felt like it did follow a theme. It sets beautifully in what I wanted to talk about.
Thank you so much for doing this with us, Alina. I have a
Thank you very
question
much
in
for having
terms
me.
of course, what artists would you want to collaborate with if you could pick?
I always wanted to collaborate with musicians, with singers.
Hmm.
So there was this workshop that I conducted where my husband, he played guitar, and we were blindfolded and we had to draw whatever we understood from that music.
Mhm.
That was a brilliant experience for me. I mean, to listen to a certain kind of music, which doesn't have any lyrics in it, which doesn't have any vocals in it, but just a continuous meditative sound. And I want to explore that more. There's another really dear friend of mine. He's a beautiful singer. His name is Ali Saad, and I don't think I have mentioned this to him, but I would love to have him come to the studio someday, and you know, with his harmonium, with his instrument, and maybe he could sing, and maybe I could draw at the same time. So that is one thing that is on my mind. I really want to do that, just to see how these two different genres they come together, and how it influences my work, and how it influences the musician's mind. So
I
that is
think
on my
that
mind.
I think that music influences us a great deal. Like even when I'm in my studio, I play a certain kind of music, and if I go to someone else's studio, they play a certain kind of music. It's what is in your heart. And if you remember
Yes.
when we were in Morocco, it depended on the mood we were in, the music
Yes.
that we listened to that day to even be able to create it all. So I think that's such a cool
Yeah.
idea to have your husband even broach it was nice. Okay, so
Yes.
if anyone has any further questions for Alina, please let me know, because I need to ask my crazy question before we go.
Oh yes. I can't wait for that.
Anyone?
I have one sort of selfish question. So Alina, like, is so like your art is so beautiful in terms of like technique and skill. And I wanted to ask what advice you have for people who don't have this technique and who don't have the skill, but who still want to use art for healing. How can we do that?
Okay, so I feel that there's so many, like academically, it's instilled in your minds that you can only produce art if you know the skill, if you're trained in it. And they don't promote the idea of being fearless with what you have, with the tool that you have. If you would want to write something, you wouldn't want to have that literary level like that of Keats or Shakespeare, right? You just start writing down. We all know art has tremendous healing qualities. And if you want to do it, the first thing is just identify, why are you doing this? You're doing this for yourself, right? So you don't have to be afraid of how it's going to look like. I think everyone should pick up whatever you say, be it charcoal or paint. Even, you know, you can go to a market, you can get a bucket of paint, or you can get enamel, you can get pastels, you can get any medium you want. Even if you don't know what this does, you know, if you go to an art store, you don't know what this specific medium is, just get it, just grab it. and start playing with it. Be playful with it. You need to unlearn those notions, that are injected into your heads, that, oh no, you can't create something because you haven't taken that class in that particular year of your undergrad or whatever. These are the things that stay in your head, in your subconscious for a longer period of time. Maybe because maybe they're right. I strongly suggest and recommend, do not let those things overwhelm you. You can create beautiful things. You can do something which the other individual can't do, and be proud of it. I mean, I strongly believe that even if that's one stroke on a piece of paper, if you put it up on the wall and if you look at it every day, it is going to give you a different greeting. It is going to give you a different meaning. Enjoy it. It doesn't have to look beautiful all the time. It doesn't have to follow a certain school of thought. It doesn't have to follow a certain aesthetic. It can be just you. So, and I think a very important way to incorporate art is to talk about it. Even if you don't know anything about it, just talk to someone about it. Educate yourself. Even, for instance, if you don't know what this particular brush does, you could just play with it, and then you may ask someone, who may have a little bit of knowledge about it, what does this do? Certain times you're scared of questioning, that fear of being inquisitive. So you can just let go of that, and it's going to be a beautiful journey, I promise you.
Thank you.
That was an excellent answer. I agree wholeheartedly. You have to discover who you are as an artist, not who someone else tells you that you are, And also,
yes,
to piggyback off of that very quickly, go where art is, my dear. Museums, libraries, parks. Go and see what art is so that you know what you find to be stimulating and amazing, and then not to necessarily recreate it, but to spark something. I mean, the point of these talks, these art Zooms for me, was to have us all come together and figure out who we were to each other so that we can be stimulated and we can then create, and just something to bring that back for us. Anyone else? Any other comments?
Assalamu alaikum. I just want to say thank you to Alina and to Taeesha for this conversation. It's really wonderful and just excellent job. So really appreciate your time, and but I just wanted to also point out just how really exciting this is, that we're having this conversation literally across the world. That we have I mean, obviously COVID has been a difficult time for so many people, but at the same time it has brought us together in these ways, and the fact that we can have this like artistic dialogue and collaboration, it's really nice. I mean, it's a rainy night in Brooklyn here where I'm speaking, and probably before dawn in Pakistan. But I'm just curious, like, what is the art scene like in Pakistan? What is it like in Islamabad, Rawalpindi, and I'm just curious, and what on the ground, like how are things?
So Daniel, things are still going on. People are coming with innovative ways of conveying art. There are online exhibitions happening, and I see a lot of an abundance of Instagram talks happening. Mm-hmm. I mean, everyone's going live. They're being open about everything. People who were hesitant in coming on screen, they were coming forward and they were talking about their works instead of sitting behind the screen and just limiting themselves to the catalogs. That's pretty exciting. There's so many people who actually having time to make up their own pages, work on their websites, build up portfolios. There are exhibitions happening also. But personally, for my own sanity, I disconnected myself from the social media since June, because I wanted that time for myself. So honestly speaking, I'm not very updated with what's happening around me, but I'm thinking of reactivating and see what's going on, and to introduce a few ideas that I have. So things are still going. I mean, we are an unstoppable nation. I mean, nothing can stop us. So even if we are paralyzed physically, we can't reach out physically to people. there's so many ways people are communicating online, and thanks to Zoom calls, Zoom sessions, thanks to Skype, uh, it's a very productive medium. People are still doing that. Yes.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're from
Hi.
my hometown, Islamabad. That's where my dad is from.
Oh,
Really?
mashallah.
MashaAllah.
Yeah, so I recognize you. You look like you're from Islamabad. Very much from
Really?
my,
So,
yeah. But it's
any
like
plans
art
on coming to
transcends all,
Pakistan
right?
soon,
It's
Sana?
like Pakistan, all over the world. Art transcends all barriers. There's
Oh, we're
creativity
everywhere.
everywhere.
We're everywhere.
MashaAllah. Alina, I just wanted to say thank you so much for being on here. And when I saw your work, I was really interested in your thought process. And it is very powerful how you look inside yourself to find answers to who you are, and that translates in your art. And it's very inspirational. For me, I want to take that and not even just in art, just really listen to my thought process, like as if I'm outside my body, right? And I'm just looking from outside in and listening to what's going on. So I just want to say thank you for that.
Thank you. I'm so happy that it gave you a different perspective about things. And there's so many negative things happening around you. You get to see heartbreaking news on TV around you because of the situation globally. It is really important to just spread joy and positivity, most importantly. Not on the surface level, but in depth of it. I mean, and that could only happen by talking and by listening, by
Mhm.
just having a conversation. That's really, really important. I mean, and I know everyone's busy. I know everyone's having a different routine. They're busy with their own plans, but I think it's really important to find out a part of the day where you sit down and you connect and you listen. You would want to listen, reach out to people, because I think this pandemic has also uh, sort of created this weird emotion, the depressing emotion amongst everyone. So you would really want to be there for people who may not open up, but, just to be there. I think that's really, really important.
Alhamdulillah. That's amazing. Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wow. That is so cool that you're able to let us in, Alina, and to even talk with us and move forward with your art. Okay, I think everyone's asked their questions, everyone's given their comments. And my question, I guess, is not so crazy now that I think about it, knowing you, but for you, but for you, it is.
Bring it on.
All right. In all of your travels, which I know you travel extensively, we're always talking about that. Where would you live if you couldn't be an artist? And what would you be doing?
Istanbul, Turkey. That's one place I would want to spend my life with my husband. I mean, I would love to be there, because that's the place where you see a beautiful fusion between the Eastern and Western aesthetic of the lifestyles, of the history. And that's a place where you see art, you see architecture, you see different colors together, and uh, you feel that strong faith around you. I mean, I don't know if people who are listening have been to Istanbul, but when you listen to the azan or the khutbah from Suleiman Mosque, or even if you're around that area, when you're at the spot where you could see the entire cityscape, uh, it spiritually charges you. I mean, it charged me on my last trip with my husband, and that's one place where we both have agreed to live, if you know or visit again and again, because that's something where you want to explore more, you want to uh, just discover more, because you see uh, there's harmony in religion, there's harmony in different communities living together. So yeah.
You're not an artist though. So what are you doing in?
I think I'll be having a coffee shop, a small tea shop at the corner of a busy street where I'll be sitting outside, talking nonstop to strangers or my customers. And I would be also having a musician maybe with live music session, and I'll be having some artwork hanging, some installations having, the spaces. I don't know. That's just a wild idea. Experimenting with
Supposed to
different
be
breakfasts
wild.
on the menu.
It's supposed to be wild.
Yes.
Alhamdulillah.
You should sell Pakistani chai. Everybody will come to you
Yes.
in the middle of Istanbul.
Yes, exactly.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much, Alina, for sharing with us and taking us on the journey through your works. I know it's very early there, right after Fajr, and it's just like, wow. So we definitely appreciate it. Everyone, please give salams to international artist and entrepreneur Alina Akbar. We're going to wish her a very good day, not a good night, but a good day, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much for having me here. And I feel it was not just a conversation with people. I think it was a conversation with myself. So it was an eye-opening experience for me, and I loved it. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I hope to stay connected and collaborate in future and be of any creative service to your amazing initiative.
Alhamdulillah.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum.
Bye bye.